Welcome, everyone. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. The first item tonight is the approval of the minutes, the June 16th, 2014 work session meeting. We'll just take these one by one. I think we had some missing people. Make a motion to approve the work session meetings for June 16, 2014 work session meeting.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the June 16, 2014 regular meeting minutes.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to approve the August 18th, 2014 executive session meeting minutes.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I abstain.
The first announcement tonight is from the Department of Public Works. I'd like to invite Mike DeChico to the podium, our interim Public Works Director. Welcome, Mr. DeChico.
Thank you. Good evening. I'd like to call up Pete Russo, Mike Nally, Jason Teolis. On September 10th, Pete Russo was the first runner-up at this year's backhoe rodeo held at the Washington County Fairgrounds at the annual Rhode Island Public Works Association Equipment Day held for state and local municipalities. Also on that day, Jason Teolis and Michael Nally completed in the snowplow rodeo and were named overall combined score winning team. They competed in 3 categories: a written knowledge test, a timed obstacle course, and backup with a trailer. With this win, they are representing Rhode Island at the National Snowplow Rodeo and Conference held September 24th to the 26th in Loveland, Colorado. All expenses paid for by the Rhode Island Public Works Association. They will also represent the state of Rhode Island at the New England Snowplow Rodeo held in November in Massachusetts. Narragansett should be very proud.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And here, so the first trophy is the backhoe rodeo trophy. Second trophy was first place slalom, and the main cup is the overall combined team championship trophy. So I'm very proud of these guys. I was a recipient twice of that trophy, so I know what it is to compete in that event. And we should be very proud that we have them on staff. Thank you.
Good job.
Congratulations. We have another announcement. This year is the first annual Panda Plunge for the Welcome House of South County. It will occur on September 27th, 2014. Registration is at 10 o'clock. The plunge is at noon at the Narragansett Town Beach, South Pavilion. The Welcome House of South County and the Elks Lodge of Wakefield are the co-sponsors of the first annual Panda Plunge, a family-oriented event organized to help end homelessness and hunger in our community. Proceeds will support the Welcome House, shelter, housing, soup kitchen, and social service operations. This event includes a festive plunge into the warm waters of Narragansett Beach by individuals and teams that compete for prizes in categories such as Best Costume, Best Team Spirit, and Highest Fundraiser. The event will have face painting and food available for plungers and participants. And again, that's September 27th, registration at 10, and the plunge is at noon. And just not the best transition, but if we could have a moment of silence for someone we lost a couple weeks back. Janice Causey was a beloved art teacher, mother, surfer, and artist in the community. There was a very nice memorial for her last night at Town Beach. They had a surf paddle out, and it must have been 200 to 300 people there, and just a moment of silence for a great loss to the community. Thank you very much. And with that, we'll move on to the open forum. Please state your name and address upon our approach to the podium. Mr. Wojciechowski.
Stan Wojciechowski in Narragansett. I just wanted to not forget that we're in critical status, critical financial status. I know it's old news, but sometimes I think we forget focus here in our day-to-day activities on dealing with this issue. We must continue to watch how we spend money. And sometimes I just don't think the politicians want to really focus on that. Everybody wants to do good, and I understand that. You know, you want to just make everybody happy, so everybody comes here and asks for things, you know. And just because they come here and ask for things doesn't mean you give it to them. There's a cost for everything. And therefore, just like I did when children, sometimes you got to tell the residents, sorry, we can't afford it at this time, maybe later on. And sometimes I just think we're going back to our old ways. And one thing is, we've heard, and I've spoken before, about the hiring freeze. I'm hearing about hiring. You just don't need to hire people at this time. I understand the town manager, when there's some specific expertise we might need for some specific issue, I understand she has the flexibility to do that. But normally, when you're in critical status, this is one of the things you look at. Worldwide, the smart people financially worldwide consider this one of the things to deal with when you're in critical financial condition, as well as bonds, mortgages. You don't go out and get mortgages and bonds when you're in critical financial condition. It's just not, that's not reasonable. It's not right. It's not right for you to burden the taxpayer with the excess cost. You have a responsibility here, and your responsibility is a financial responsibility to say no. Must not do that. And now I'd like to just get the message out. Since you got a little more irresponsible, I'm hoping to get a message out to people who are voting to vote no on the bonds this time around. I'm not saying forever, but this time around, because of this status, I'm hoping that everybody knows we must vote no as a signal to all the future politicians that we're demanding financial responsibility. And I hope everyone in the future will hear that message so we get out of critical status a little faster. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that's got to be a record. Moving on to the public hearing. A motion to schedule a public hearing on an application from Echo ATM of San Diego, California for a secondhand license at 91 Point Judith Road, Narragansett, Rhode Island.
I'll move that motion.
And is the...
Second.
What's the... Okay. So the motion is for October 6th. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone have an item to move from the consent agenda? Someone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to old business, number 9, a motion to approve the purchase of one new 2015 Chevrolet Silverado 3500 HD four-wheel drive dual rear wheel cab and chassis from the National Auto Fleet Group in the amount of $32,906.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Discussion. This is a carryover from last week. Ms. Nolan?
Yes, you have, I laid it in front of you tonight, a copy of our PowerPoint presentation. And what we attempted to do was answer the question, do we need this vehicle? So I decided to, I went down with Mr. DeChico, I worked with Mr. Daño, Mr. DeChico, the mechanics, and Aaron Haggerty, the clerk, and we kind of gave you an overview of the entire Department of Public Works so that you would, I think it's past time that we really take a look at what we've got down there and what we use it for, and you have a clear understanding of the inventory, the people, and I would like to ask Mr. DeChico to come up to the podium and walk us through this presentation. I asked him to take pictures of every piece of equipment we have, so he will explain them to you, and you'll hear me jump in once in a while. Okay, we're ready.
The Department of Public Works is made up of 7 large dump truck. Not all of them are Sanders. We have one there that's a permanent sander. That's all it does is plow and sand. We have 3 others that are combination dump sanders and plow, and one of them is our Stetco truck there for cleaning catch basins. So it's a combination truck. It cleans catch basins and plows snow. And there's 2 there not pictured because they were both in for service. But we're made up of 7 of the large trucks throughout town. Here the department's also made up of 8 pickup trucks that do various things throughout town constantly. One of them is assigned to the fleet department, so they do a lot of road calls for any type of vehicle throughout town that's broken down or running for parts or anything like that. 2 of the pickup trucks are assigned to administration, like myself or the future full-time director and superintendent. They're both assigned their own trucks. 1 truck is assigned to the highway division foreman. 1 pickup is assigned to the sign shop because he needs to be able to have access to a vehicle at all times with all his tools and needs. And the other 3 are assigned to the highway division itself for everyday various jobs. These are 2 of our special use trucks. We have the forestry truck. It helps us do all of our storm mitigation, tree trimming, hanging banners, whatever need be there. The other truck is the Vector truck, and that's our most expensive truck. That was the $250,000 truck that was bought roughly 2005. That's for cleaning roughly all 1,500 to 2,000 catch basins in town that we have to try and get done yearly. This is truck 116. This is our all-purpose construction truck. That can go on any type of job, catch basin repairs, hot patch, cold patch, tree trimming, just about anything. It has water, it has cement, it's got all that type of stuff. Every tool that the crews can imagine are on that truck, so that they don't have to constantly run back and forth to the garage. It's stationed on that truck, and when it's on a job, they have the tools that they need. These are our 1-ton dump trucks. The first one pictured is truck 23. That's one of our hook lift trucks. We have 2 hook lift trucks, which are special use trucks. What it is they have multiple bodies. We have a liquid tank for liquid de-icing in the winter. We have a stake body truck for hauling various materials. We have 2 dumpster bodies, and we have a sander. And so what it is the truck can actually place the body on the ground and grab another body and move on. So when we're in winter mode, we can place the liquid tank on one truck, the sander on the other truck, and the trucks are set up for plowing and sanding operations. At other times of the day, we can haul our dumpsters around for various trash runs or put a stake body on the truck and pick up materials. The other 2 trucks are 2 of the 3 1-ton dumps in question. Those are our various all-purpose trucks. Those are our trucks that our non-CDL drivers can drive, part-time help, our labor that doesn't have a CDL. That's the type of dump truck that they can drive. Cold patch, hot patch, looming, picking up brush and all sorts of other daily tasks. Sure.
I put this in because I was trying to discover if we truly need to replace this vehicle in question. We'll get to the specific vehicle in a minute. So I asked Mike to give me a rundown of 1995, how many trucks we had and what kind of time did it take to clear the town when there was snow. This is the truck inventory in 1995. You're going to find there's 13 trucks. Today we have 18 trucks. In 1995, they used to use these vehicles here to clear the town in 3 days. To clear the entire town of snow, it would take 3 days. Today, we do it with 18 trucks, and we do it in 12 hours once the snow starts. The next slide, Mike, if you would, is our vehicle inventory today. And what's next to it, Mr. DeCicco put the uses. So you know now that most of our vehicles are used not just for plowing, but for drain cleaning, hot and cold patch, liquid brine, scrap metal roll-off, trash roll-off. It goes on and on. Tree trimming, wood chipping, plowing, sanding, it just goes on. So my point, the next slide is other equipment. And this is some of the specialty equipment we have that's got a specific use, Mike?
Yes.
Yep.
Well, most of these are the trailers that we have for hauling equipment, or the jet spray trailer, the chipper, the Mad Vac, which is a sidewalk vacuum. That's why our sidewalks are so clean in the Perrin and Galilee.
The next one, if you would, is truck 111. Mike, this is the truck that we want to replace, everything but the back end that was replaced last year. And I'm going to let Mr. DeCicco explain this for you.
Right, roughly what we have is a 1999 medium-sized dump truck used for catch basin repairs, recycling, hot and cold patch, towing small equipment, and snow plowing. It was due for replacement this year. $85,000 was budgeted. We're only asking for the 32 for the cab and chassis. We already have the new dump body on hand, and we're just looking to replace the cab and chassis.
If we were to replace the whole truck, it would be about $55,000. This is the truck. This is the truck that we're asking to replace, everything but that gray on the back of the truck. That's the only part that remains, That's it. Everything else will go.
We'll transfer the body and all the pieces off of the truck that are salvageable to the new cab and chassis.
Yes. As I said, it's $50,000 if we bought it new. We'd have a 2014 or 2015 vehicle, but we can take this 1995 and virtually we replace the entire truck for $32,000. And if we just replace the engine, because the engine's gone in this truck, that's why we have to do this. If we just replace the engine, we would still have a 1999 truck with a shelf life of about 5 more years. If we do this at $32,000, we're going to have a new truck, in essence, because we replaced everything on it. And that's what we're requesting, the cab and chassis. There it is. Cab, right, Mike? Is that the cab?
That's it.
That's the
Yep.
cab. Yep.
You know, most of the work will be done in-house. There won't be any extra costs other than possibly some minor welding costs or other than that, but most of it will be done in-house. And that's about it.
Well, I think my memo is in here. I gave you a memo of all the staff that we have right now. I believe it's 12 people. And I've often heard it said, we decided we were going to address the whole vehicle and employee issue down at DPW. And I've heard since I've been here, they have more vehicles than they have people. Well, they've got 12 people, all in all, and two of those right now are administration, and one clerk, who of course doesn't drive. So these are our 12 people. We hire also 120-day workers, as many as the budget will withstand. I gave you a list of how many people that we call in, the list of itinerant drivers that we call in. And I guess my argument is this. Should we replace this truck? My answer is yes, we should replace this truck if we want to maintain the level of service that we have right now in the community. Okay, bottom line, that's it. I mean, if we had 13 vehicles in 1995 and we did it in 3 days, we have 18 vehicles now, we're doing it in 12 hours. I think that, and this vehicle is not used just for snow plowing, it's used year-round. It's a major vehicle for catch basin cleaning and also for hot and cold patch. And in my opinion, in order to keep up the level of service that we have in this town right now, we do need this. We've got only 3 mid-sized trucks that do the functions that this truck does. There's only 2 others. And I think that yes, it's my opinion that yes, we should replace it for this price and have a brand new truck. In essence, replace a 1999 vehicle that was due for replacement this year anyhow. End of discussion, Mike? Have we said everything that we wanted to say?
I think so.
I think so.
I think this packet's well done. Nice job.
I'd like to thank Mr. DeLuca, who's sitting over here, our town planner, because he worked with Mike and he worked with me and he worked with his staff and he put this together for us. And he often does that for us sitting here if we have a PowerPoint to do it. Lord only knows I can't do it. So I'm very grateful, Mike. Thank you.
I got a couple of questions. So thanks for the breakdown on staffing. I think this was the list that was also in the package around the callbacks.
Yes.
So
Yes.
how much do you know, how much did we pay for the call-in people last year? Do you have a sense of that? Or what's the hourly rate, let's just say, for calling someone in?
Any of those drivers range from $10 an hour to $15 an hour.
And a lot of them have their own vehicles.
No, they drive our vehicles.
Our vehicles.
That's how we fill all the seats in the town vehicles.
So we only have 18 pieces of equipment on the road dealing with plowing, or, no, it wouldn't even be 18, it would be 15? Some of these things aren't suitable for plowing, right?
No, there are 18 plow trucks.
Okay, so we only have 18 trucks on the road at any given time.
Mhm.
So is there an issue, and this is probably a question for Mark, as to, is there a liability for them to use their own equipment? If we were to call in people with a CDL that subcontracted, and we were,
To do the plowing,
Yes, to do the plowing.
you would have to, similar to what the state does, I think, they solicit proposals for independents all the time, and what they do is they require insurance information or proof of insurance, and then pay whatever the contracted rate is based upon bids, or whatever their hourly rate is that they have out there. So that could be done. It would require insurance if you decide to do so, and whatever else the trust might impose upon us.
yep. We've had the conversation, Pam, about, not just about this truck or the Public Works Department in particular, but I still, and I'm thankful that we have this because it does talk about this department, I still don't have a full view of the fleet in the town. We have a lot of rolling stock, and I feel like there needs to be one person marshaling these assets, understanding the age, the replacement timeline, the use, the interoperability between departments. Parks and Rec has trucks. Are any of those being deployed? So I'm still not in that mind that, and again, it's not about this truck, Mike, in particular. I think we make tactical decisions because it was in the budget, because we react to a broken piece of equipment without a full picture of what does the fleet look like, what is the asset management, what's the care, what's the, inventory records on each and every vehicle for purposes of planning.
Well, we do have a complete inventory, and I have it in my office, and it's from the trust. It's from our insurance company and what we insure. All right, we do keep it close to what you're saying. How it's taken care of right now is department by department.
Right.
So you're
There may
asking.
be synergies by leveraging across departments where you wouldn't be buying, you wouldn't have necessarily 18 plow trucks. You might have a few in parks and rec that could be leveraged to supplement the inventory in public works during the winter. But again, I come back to, you can really only do that when you have one person accountable for the fleet. So they have a full picture
Yeah.
of how things are being used, when, what their real useful life is, and what the value of repairing versus replacing is.
That would be a fleet manager, correct? That would be something, we're going to start the new budget for 2016 within the next couple of months. I hate to say that. We just got into the 2015 budget, but we will be starting, and that is a position we could consider, absolutely.
And we could,
I
you
can see
could,
the
you could
value.
outsource it too, right? There's firms that do this, right?
Yes,
So-
there are, I'm sure that there are. I don't know of any town that has one right now, but I'm sure that there are firms that do
But
this.
that's a function of, if I'm interim director at the moment, but if I go back to superintendent of operations, that's a function of my duties already. I just don't have control of the other departments, so-called.
Right.
I have control of my departments,
Right.
which is fleet and public works. I'm very knowledgeable already in the speccing and designing of the trucks that we already have in the fleet. I've probably specced and built most of them that we already have, so I understand it very well. I just don't have that.
Perspective across the other groups, yeah. No, I know, and that's the fundamental problem, because up here, we're looking, at the entire picture.
I understand, and sometimes that happens for me when I see a truck designed in another department that I think should be designed a little bit different.
I have to tell you that I'm pretty satisfied with the way that individual departments that have rolling stock do take care of their rolling stock and put it on the capital budget and plan ahead, 5 to 10 years ahead on replacement. You're talking police and fire, and you've gone through that recently with major pieces of fire equipment. They're so expensive that they have to be on our capital budget in a good long time before we actually
Right.
need it. Takes a long time to draw all that together and get that in, and Chief has been waiting for his pumper to be in for quite a while now. Police have someone assigned to that role, if I'm correct, Dean. They have an officer assigned to that role. So that's what he does, is he takes care of the cars. I know Steve Wright is right on top of every vehicle that he drives. What you're all saying to me, what I'm hearing tonight is there's not a central place. But through me, that could be done now. It doesn't necessarily.
There's a lot
if
of
Mike
record
is-
keeping, right? There's a lot of record
Yeah.
keeping, and there's a lot of planning, and to Mike's point, there's design aspect, but there's also sort of valuation and useful life and wear and tear and ensuring that there's accountability for whoever uses it, and that type of thing too, that you could do it, but that would be pretty time
It could be done
consuming.
through my authority, though.
Right.
If Mike was willing to take that on.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it's not done already. To
Yeah.
a point it is. Individual departments take on that role right now. Most all the departments take very good care of their
do.
Yeah, no
fleet.
debate. It's just more about the synergy around use
Right.
Yep.
and replacement and value back to the taxpayer of,
I mean,
if we can save
as much
not
as-
buying a truck.
All I can say is, I've been here 21 years just about total in my employment, and trucks before were on a 7 to 8 year cycle. We're now trying to push trucks from anywhere from 15 to 20 year cycles.
And a million miles.
We're gunning for it, but we're trying to prolong that cost to the taxpayers and the residents, because we are trying to prolong that life expectancy of the truck from, and projecting a 15 to 20-year life expectancy of a vehicle. So yeah, they do cost a little bit more. We're speccing them a little bit better, and we are taking very good care of them. I mean, I have a very rigorous PM schedule in the department with fleet and highway division. We try and wash our trucks constantly. I'm very big on washing trucks during snowstorms, after snowstorms, before a snowstorm. Techniques on how we do it. We use every type of salt removing product that's out there, but unfortunately, in the environment that we do live in, when the trucks are outside continuously, when we don't have the storage inside, they do deteriorate faster. And so we do try our hardest to keep them where they need to be, but sometimes we just can't fight the elements as fast as it's fighting us.
Would it work better if you had a fleet manager, either you or Pam or a combination, and you could sort of transfer the trucks from one department to another? Is that possible? Or is
How many trucks does public,
we've already
Parks
done
and
that.
Rec have?
How
Do you-
many what?
Trucks do Parks and Rec have, do you know?
Not offhand, I don't know, and I don't think Mr. Wright is here. I don't know. It's a handful compared to what the DPW have, and I don't think they have any of the big trucks, am I right?
I think
Midsize
it's a
and
total of
pickup?
five or six trucks, and it's made up of a combination of pickup trucks and a few small dump trucks.
Right.
Yeah, the one
So
ton.
those small dub trucks, again, the question is, why wouldn't we just leverage that and,
Well, I think that we do use them if we need to in a major
If we
snowstorm. I
need to,
know
I
that
mean, Parks has their own things that they have to do also, so.
they
But we
have to
do,
plow.
yeah, we do use them when we have availability.
And their people plow for us, and then they leave when we have it under control, they leave and plow out things like the senior center. What else do they plow?
Clubhouse.
Clark Road, the
Clark Road,
yes,
right.
the beach clubhouse, that kind of thing. So they have their own, I see the only thing that's missing, because I am satisfied that the individual departments do an awfully good job of management, fleet management, but I can see the value in what you're saying, Glenna, of having one individual checking constantly to see if, ever since I came here, I've said I want to touch every vehicle that we have. I want to make sure it exists. I want to see if we're insuring, we're paying for insurance. I want to see if everything's insured or if some things are not there any longer and we're still insuring them. It's just been kind of busy
a little bit?
since I arrived, so. But that is something that is a very point well taken, really.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chico. I'm sure we'll have some more questions at some point.
Stanley has one.
I want to sit in the front row. Mr. Wojciechowski. This is like your dream agenda item.
I'm impressed with the analysis. It's fantastic. I just have one question, and that's 82,000 miles on it, like a million miles. I should at least see 500,000 miles or something on trucks. And for me to see 82, are we replacing this with the same type of truck, so it's going to fail again? It was a failure of the diesel issue, I think. There's some engine failure at 80-some thousand miles, and I don't like that. Therefore, I don't want to buy the same kind of truck again, if you will, because 80,000 miles is going to blow again. We've got to change the model, maybe. Can we change the model? Are we going to change the model? Are we going to change the engine?
No, we're not going to change it. It's a 1995, so that means it's been on the road.
I'm sorry. What I meant to say, the new truck you're buying, is it going to have a similar engine or a similar diesel,
Well, we have
whatever?
Mr.
They're
DiCicco
going to have a
answer
similar
that.
setup that's going to fail at 80,000 miles again. That's what I'm asking.
Now, with the new emissions on the smaller diesel engines, it's not cost effective to go with the diesel engine in the smaller trucks, so we're going with an unleaded.
Gas engine?
Yes.
All right, so that kind of should hopefully will come closer to our million miles with this. At least we're making a change on this engine. I don't want to go with a failed system. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I do work for Public Works. I'm an equipment operator, as you guys know, and I just kind of want to add something to what Mike said. I always hear people saying, miles on the truck, there's low miles, but if you're out there during a storm, these trucks are taking abuse. I mean, it's not because of bad drivers, but during Blizzard Nemo, when we had it coming down at 4 inches an hour and then we got the rain on top of it, little trucks were not pushing the snow. I was plowing Riverdale, Old Boston Neck, South Ferry, and the 2 small trucks that were with me, they couldn't do anything. It took a big truck to push through. All they could do was do the intersections and cul-de-sacs. So, I mean, these trucks are pushing snow, they're taking a lot of abuse. And as far as after the storm, like Mike said, it's a routine. After the storm, you wash it off outside with the big fire hose. Then it comes inside and we use, neutral wash, the salt dissolver, the mechanics have bought all kinds of stuff. So, and then we scrub it with soap and water. If it's freezing cold out, he'll have us throw a coat of wax on it to try to save the paint. I mean, I know, unless you guys come down, you won't believe it, but just trucks, they rot away. I've never seen it like this. I mean, I know we're in a salt environment, but I worked for the town of Richmond before I came here, and just the trucks, the environment, they eat away, and we're doing everything we can. Our mechanics are good. They're working on it all the time. As far as, maintenance goes, all the trucks have tags in them when the next service is done, so anybody that's driving the trucks, they know when it's supposed to come in. If you see an issue, you write down what's going on the truck, and the mechanics address it. And I know all the other departments as well, they're constantly bringing their stuff there, so every department's right on it, police, fire, parks, water, sewer, they're constantly there, their trucks, hey, it's ready for a service. So, I mean, like Mike said, every department's doing a good job of, keeping an eye on their own equipment. And lastly, as far as, people always say, too many trucks, but during the blizzard, we only had 8 big trucks going, and when you're trying to push 2 feet of wet snow, stuff's gonna break. Hydraulic lines, edges, I had a flat tire last year, so we can set off in a storm with 18 trucks. By the end of the storm, we may only have 10. It seems like a lot of trucks, but in a bad storm, blizzard, if you only got 10 trucks going, it's, do the math. There's only so many trucks per square mile, and, people are gonna get snowed in. So just wanted to add to Mike's comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
3-1, motion carries. Number 10, a motion to adopt an ordinance and amendment of Article 16 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled Rental Dwellings.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Discussion, Mr. Kegels, I believe, wants to speak.
Forgive me for reading this, and I wanted to get my thoughts together. Mr. President and councilors, I sympathize with those residents who have to put up with unruly student behavior in their neighborhoods, but I'm also tired of being demonized by them just because I fall within a category of people they wish to attack. They and you seem to have a perception that all landlords are to be punished financially, even when their tenants cause no problems. I realize that you and others in this town view the rental registration and cost recovery ordinances as legitimate responses to student misbehavior. Considering the way these ordinances function, I do not feel they meet any standard of legitimacy, nor do I believe they will have any more effect on eliminating the problem than they ever have. Yet now you are looking to double down on these bad policies. Rental registration began nearly a decade ago with the stated purpose of adding 1 police officer and 1 part-time building inspector. The fee of $10 per bedroom was considered reasonable for that purpose. Let me point out that, unlike legitimate user fees, those who pay these fees realize no benefit from them. In my case, the new proposal brings the annual cost up to 463% of my original assessment. In 2011, the police force was reduced by 2 officers. Now the recommendation is to use this round of fee increases to add 1 new police officer and 1 new part-time building inspector. Didn't we already do that? Effectively, by adding the 70% increase today, You are shifting the burden of replacing one of the officers eliminated 3 years ago from the entire taxpayer base to a small subset. How can that possibly be legitimate when the vast majority of those landlords impacted have never had a misbehavior problem among their tenants? This campaign against landlords is vicious, irrational, and outrageous, and it needs to stop. Please ask yourselves whether your votes reflect rational analysis or political expediency. Those of you who are attorneys know full well why the cost recovery ordinance imposes strict liability and joint and several liability on landlords. Now we hear of new efforts to increase the cost recovery cap even before the town has enforced the current ordinance for the first time. Of all people, members of the Economic Development Council are talking about a proposal to increase the tax burden on landlords even further through the adoption of a homestead exemption. These ordinances are blatantly discriminatory and flawed with unintended consequences that you have never addressed, even though prior councils have acknowledged them publicly. The town has not only sanctioned this discrimination, it has institutionalized it. An announcement last week suggested that we need to strengthen these bad ordinances with no mention of addressing unintended consequences. Because these ordinances were on the books when new people came into office, including some of you, they have been too easily accepted as legitimate with no real inquiry into the potential injustices they create for some taxpayers. Will you not be satisfied until you drive all students and landlords out of town? I beseech you to reject this 70% increase in fees and take the time to look at the bigger picture of what kind of town we want to be, how these ordinances divide our citizens, and their unintended consequences. There are rational ways to deal with bad behavior when you begin to listen to more than just the loudest voices. There is no place in this town for the politics of division and discrimination. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Wojciechowski.
Wow, he said it all. He said it so fantastically. I can't compare to that. But what I will tell you, though, is I made trips over the last few days down to this Eastwood Look, supposedly this terrible neighborhood. And what I want to say is I want to congratulate the chief. He succeeded in stopping everything. I went down there. There's no cars on the street. Sometimes you see 10 cars inside on the property. But, you know, if you have a 5-bedroom and each guy has a doggone partner, you got 10 cars there. There's no car on the street. I didn't see him. I guess the tow trucks really worked. He has done his job, and it's finished, okay? There's no car on the street. I was there between 10 and 11. There was no drunks on the road at that time. However, somebody said, well, come back at 2 o'clock in the morning, maybe you'll find one, you know? And obviously there was, because there was 65, I read in the paper, there was 65 drunk behavior problems, okay? So really, we should really give him a little more time to do what he has to do to prove that we got this problem licked already, okay? We got it licked because we're attacking, we're correcting the problem, which is alcohol. That's the correcting. There's two issues here. One is he did it with temporary labor. Bring out the state police. Bring out these other people. Temporary. That's what you want. You want the temporary guys out there just to take care of the problem, because the problem is temporary. It's not all the time. So you just want people out there temporarily. And he's got a plan to do that, and it worked. So that's the first thing. We don't need to hire. According to the Finance Committee, hiring a person is it could cost us $3 million. I understand $74,000 a year. According to the Finance Committee, $3 million, okay, $3 million. And then I see here, there was only 7 houses from September 1st to September 7th. There was only 7 nuisance houses. We're going to go out and spend $7 million for a full-timer, and I don't know what for a part-timer, to deal with 7 houses. So the houses are not the problem. The 65 alcohol people are a problem, and we need the temporary action to continue to fix that problem. So now, landlord, I can understand if you could provide the landlords with a list of everyone who's had an alcohol problem in the last 5 years. If we had that list, us landlords, and we rented to one of those drunks, Now you would be justified in fining us and doing what you had to do. We would then be responsible because we knowingly rented to a drunk person. Right now, we don't have any way of evaluating. How could we be responsible when we don't know who the drunks are? We don't know who the violators are. So we're out there, and we're going to be fined and whatever, and we don't even know. So if anything, all I want you to do is it should be easy with a computer now. Just maintain a list on a computer, police file that we can access everyone who's had any kind of alcohol issue for the last 5 years that we can access. That's the solution here.
Mr. Wojciechowski, your time's up.
I know, I got to get a baton. I just know that what we're doing right now, I just want you to postpone it again. I'm not saying don't do it. We can do it if he proves not to carry out what he's doing. But I'm saying postpone this for the next council, give him another year to prove that he's right, and not just go off and just try to satisfy 10 or 15-year-old people out there that cause a lot of, they're very well spoken. And it's not the right thing to do at this time.
Thank you.
Finance-wise, it's an issue as well.
Thank you very much.
It's just the wrong thing. Please wait.
Thank you.
Mark, can I just ask you a question? The fee was $50. When did that start, the rental registration? What year was that? Do you remember?
It's, I don't off the top of my head, but it's been on the books for 10, 15, 20 years, at least in various forms. The fee's been raised or changed at least once or twice during the course of that time period. So it could be, yeah, longer than that. I know the fees have been changed twice in the last 10 or 15 years, I believe. It used to be a different structure, but the current structure probably, I can look online and probably get the effective date, but it's probably at least 5 to 6 years it's been on in effect
so
as it stands right now.
So it was 50, and we're looking at 85, right? I mean,
I don't remember changing it since we've been on.
yeah, that's why I was kind of pausing. So it would be just an increase of the 35, right? Okay. So I was just trying to get that in my head.
Mr. Miller.
Stan keeps telling us that things are getting better. I've lived in this town off and on for 82 years, and every year it gets worse. The families leave and the transients come back in. We had the record-setting riot in May, and we've been arresting 65 people. I think the police department's doing a good job, and I think they ought to keep it up, and you ought to increase the registrations, because things have got to be turned around.
Thank you, John.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. New business, number 11, a motion to schedule a hearing to approve a request from Gilbane Development Company on behalf of the GP Pier Retail LLC for the approval of plans to renovate the exterior of Building D in the Pier Market, which includes a new roof, cupola, siding, and windows, and a motion to refer to the planning board.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
What is the proposed date? Is there?
Or does planning
Did
have
you
to
go to
look at
planning
it
first?
first? So, really?
So, November 3rd.
November 3rd.
Is that a good idea?
Quick meeting, right?
That's not a good idea.
Andrew Bourne was supposed to be here, but I don't know if he is from Gilbane.
Well, how about we just refer to the planning board?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Just refer to the planning board and have a different date later on. That makes more sense, I think. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Number 12, a motion to approve the MOA with ASME Council 94, Local 1179.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Nolan.
Yes. The negotiating team of Laura Kenyon, our finance director, Susan Healy, our HR, human resource director, Susan Bonanno, council member, and I recommend that the town council approve the MOA with AFSCME Council 94. We held 8 meetings over 5 months, and Council 94 has ratified this agreement. The first thing that we negotiated and agreed upon was a change in management rights. I was not satisfied that the town had the type of management rights clause that we should have. So we've begun by getting the changes that are in this, the right to hire, discharge, or discipline employees, and so on. And that's welcomed, and we're happy to have that. Secondly, we've had a problem with people bidding into positions within the union who do not have any experience, and so we have taken some positive action to make sure that if a clerk wants to bid into another position, they have to take the same testing that I use for new hires, and that's computer testing on Excel and Word, as a new hire would have to take, and we agreed on that. We have number 3 is a grievance procedure. We got a few more days for the town management to answer from 5 to 7. Our parks labor asked that the union that they get him, Easter Sunday's a holiday because his shift is like Thursday till, it's over the weekend. So he's been given in Easter Sunday will be a holiday for that one laborer in parks. We have an Article 9.5 vacations. In the past, all vacations were pretty much taken, I'm not going to say by the minute, but I will say by the hour. They were accounted for hourly, and I asked that we go into half-day accrual, or at least they have to take at least a half a day, and that was agreed upon. The major change here in this and the next union to follow, which is 1033, is health and welfare. And what we started out with, I had explained to all of you, was we have 9 different health plans in the town of Narragansett. And what our mission was, what our goal was, is to get one health plan for active employees. Not just new, hired after a certain date, but active. So what this union did was agree on one health plan. Basically, it's the health plan that they had in place for their newly hired employees after a certain date. So it's one with a $250 annual deductible and charges for office visits, urgent care, and emergency room, and a percentage of all prescription drugs. And the thing that's important about this that really affects our OPEB is the actives are subject to this, not just new employees hired after a certain date, but all active employees. We are successful. I'm jumping the gun a little bit by saying it, but both unions have agreed to this. So now we have it in 2 of our 4 unions, and this is something that we want to accomplish, is to get this one health plan and try to get some sort of sanity. I can't tell you how much this means to finance and bookkeeping, that they have one health plan instead of 9. It's a big change, and it'll show up in our OPEB numbers, and I'll give you those numbers in a minute. Another important element that we got in health and welfare was that any employee who is hired after July 1st, 2014 will get no health care when they retire. That means they're going on Medicare like the rest of the world. So this is a major change. This is a major impact on our OPEB in the future. We have a clause in our contract that applies to DPW about how hot it's got to be before they can leave work and how cold it is. And we changed that from 90 degrees to 100 degrees and from 10 degrees to 5 degrees. Our retirement, our pension changes are for new hires only. We changed when they're eligible for retirement. And right now, in the new contract, if you so ratify, it will be any age after 25 years or 10 years if they have 10 years of credited service plus 65 years of age. What we are going to pay is this year 2.5%. and July 1st, 2015, which is next July, 3%, and in July 1st, 2016, 2.5%. Now, right here is where all of the economic, financial calculations come in. Because what we saved, I'm going to ask Laura to come up. I don't think I wrote this all down correctly. Laura, so would you come up and tell us exactly the amount? We had our actuaries work on the amount. I can tell you that the salaries cost us $634,000 over the 3 years. When you take out the savings in our health care of $228,000, it leaves a net of $406,000. So what are we getting for that $406,000? What we're getting is a major change in our OPEB and pension. And Laura, can you?
Yes, basically we had asked the actuaries to do a study for us to determine over 30 years what these changes to this contract would do to our OPEB and pension. And for the OPEB, it would basically save $40 million over the 30 years, and for pension, another $2 million. So this contract over 30 years will save us about $42 million on the side of our liability, pension, and OPEB.
Thank you.
And that doesn't include potential savings on another negotiated contract, which we haven't finalized
Correct.
yet.
As every year, if you go on and you make additional changes, it'll change our liability. But with the changes that we have made, that is what they estimate the
This is for
savings will
Council
be.
94 only, not Local 1033. Yeah.
Correct.
It is. So we have multi-million-dollar savings in the pension. So what our $406,000 gets us over 3 years is $42 million in our OPEB. Major change. And I really want to, again, underline the fact that actives are also participating in this. It's not just people that aren't hired yet. It's active employees. Now, the other two unions that we will start negotiations with, another year, I guess, is police and fire. We'll be looking for the same kind of one health plan change. The finance director and I intend to continue to meet with our retirees. Each one has to be dealt with individually. It's going to be a long process for our individual retirees, but we will do that. Other changes that we have had here. Let's see how far did I get. Okay. Good job. Other ones are easy. 10 is a record of accumulated leave. It seems like when we didn't have computerized paychecks, the town hung up a list every quarterly of how much accrued leave people had, sick, vacation, personal leave, all of our employees had. We don't need to do that anymore because it's printed on our paycheck. So we just agree that if we ever are not printing it on the paycheck, we will go back to posting it. The floater clerk is kind of important because this is a clerk, and it was one of the new, not new, but vacant positions that we filled in accounting, or in the collector's office, excuse me. And the person that fills that position will be able to work 50% of the position in another office if needed. So it's really valuable to the town in trying to control where our workforce is needed and where they can be used. And also we got evaluations, which we've never had with this union. So I think that that's a major plus. Also, our clerks, after they've served 6 years, can move from a clerk 3 to a clerk 4. We put some settlements that had already been signed by past councils, town councils, into the contract. And we took the employee out of the municipal court clerk out of the 1033 union, which is mid-management, and put him in 94, simply because the administrator, the municipal court administrator, is in 1033, and it's not easy to supervise somebody that's in the same union as you are. So that basically, in a nutshell, is what this contract is. It was hard fought for. I have to tell you that, and anybody who sat at that table, Susan will attest, she knows how difficult it was, and what really helped us greatly was the fact that the plan that will be in place is a really good health plan for our employees. We're not we're not asking them to go on the economy health plan. It's a very valuable package, and Blue Cross Blue Shield came in, and they spoke just to the union members, and it was after that point that the union members said, okay. Because literally, you can't live in the state, you can't read the paper, you can't watch the state elections without knowing how affected we all are by our OPEB and our pension costs. So, you know, I thank the unions for their participation and their cooperation in getting us, well, at least halfway where we want to be. But we will continue to work on reducing our OPEB and our pension costs and our health care costs as we go along. But I'm pretty happy with what we were able to accomplish with Council 94 this time, and I ask that you do approve it.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Nolan. I think you and the rest of the negotiating team should be commended. I think it's
Thank
a
you.
great step in the right direction,
Thank you.
and I'm sure it was hard fought.
Sure was.
I want to thank the union leadership as well for their participation, because it takes two to compromise, and I think that was a fair compromise for everybody and a tremendous cost savings for the town. I can't believe Mr. Vengermish isn't here tonight.
I know.
Right.
It is. Mr. Wojciechowski, if this isn't positive, we got problems.
Yeah, it really is a fantastic thing hearing about the savings, and obviously you got into the numbers really in detail, both you and Laura, and I want to thank you very much for that. It's well done. The only comment I would have, and of course, is retiring after 25 years. We retire at either 62 or 65, but again, the pension issue is an issue, and if we can push the retirement situation further out where it is in private sector, the private sector doesn't allow you to retire after 25 years with a pension, and therefore I think that this is another step that we ought to be looking at to further see more savings if we can in the future.
Thank you.
I just also want to comment on, I think, just for the taxpayer, this is a great long-term reform. Again, I keep emphasizing to everybody at home and here that these are long-term reforms. They were a long time in the making, these problems being created. So we are going to take a couple of decades to unravel this. And also, it's also a step forward by a lot of our town workers stepping forward and taking the one plan. So I also want to thank them for that, as James, to kind of echo that sentiment all around. But all around, very, very happy about the changes.
This is the largest union in the town, right?
Oh, yes, by far. It's almost 60 members, and it is by far the largest union in the town, yes.
And not only Ms. Nolan and Ms. Kenyon for their work, but also Ms. Bonanno and Mr. Mannix. That takes a lot of time, aside from the meetings we come to, for, like tonight, and other work sessions, executive sessions, but the time commitment for the negotiations is significant, and you both should be thanked for your hard work. Matt for last year and this year, and Susan for this year as well. Mr. Kegels.
I just would like some clarification on some of the numbers. It was indicated that we're going to be spending an extra $400,000 this coming year. Is that correct?
Over 3
Is
years.
over the term of the contract. Okay, and there are savings to be made. Are they the savings further down the road?
Well, I think I'll ask Mrs. Kenyon if she would please address this. We have immediate savings. We also have savings that are over the 30-year term. Laura, are you able to break that down any finer for Mr. Kegels? Okay.
Hi.
Hello. I'm a Kenyon, too.
Initially, the annual contribution should come down about $74,000 in the first year.
Contribution from who?
Contribution between pension and OPEB.
Okay.
And it will will exponentially grow as we get further out with the long-term changes that we made with our new hires.
Right. Do you have any sense of what the present value of the savings is going to be over that 30 years?
44 million.
That's the 40 million.
$42 million.
The 42 million is over time, though, right?
Over the, yeah, over
30
the,
years.
What's the current value
I
of
didn't
that?
bring it back. The actuaries didn't bring it back.
Oh, but you should ask them for it. Okay, thank you. It certainly is a breath of fresh air. It's great to see this. I think it's, you've done an excellent job, everybody who worked on it, and I think we've been waiting for it for a long time, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chorney.
Good evening. I also want to commend everybody for coming together in what sounds like some really good cost savings over the next 30 or 40 years. I would be interested, though, knowing if somebody's run it, Pam or Laura, if you took those 2 to 3% salary increases and compounded them out over 30 years, what that would cost the town.
I can't answer that, right?
Okay.
We could,
It would be just interesting to know that. I mean, I understand the $40 million savings that you're talking about, which I assume is discounted back since it's the actuaries gave it to you. What would be the 30, if there were these 2 to 3% increases every year over the next 30 to 40 years, what that would equate to? So that was just a question that I have. Thank you. But again, if that's what the savings are, 30, 40 million, it's a
So you're asking what the 2 to 3% increase would be. Are you assuming that it's going to be 2 to 3% increase every 3 years as new contracts are approved?
Yeah.
It's for the real cost for the 40 million.
Right.
Right.
There's no.
Right.
Right. There's no promise of that.
no.
No.
Right, I understand that, but there's technically no promise then going forward in 3 years when you renegotiate contracts, what might happen then too with the benefits. So just wanted to see, again, the whole picture. There is one side, on the benefit side, that, again, clearly there seem to be savings from what I've heard, but there is a cost on the other side too in terms of salary increases. So just an observation.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Number 13, a motion to authorize the town manager to sign drainage and sanitary sewer right-of-access agreements as part of the proposed Shore Club development.
I'll move that motion.
Second?
Discussion?
Can Jeff talk about it a little bit? Jeff, could you address this item? Just kind of a summary of it.
And this is the project in the top of Bonnet Shores, towards the end of, what's that street?
Basically, the item before you addresses drainage and sanitary sewer right-of-access easements. The property that Tony Fiore is proposing to develop has existing sanitary sewer lines on it and storm drainage lines. As part of the proposed development package, some of the lines have to be relocated. Some of the lines will remain under town control. Some of the lines will be, or some of the infrastructure that Tony installs will be under his control as a condo complex. And basically what this is are two agreements that address who owns what, who maintains what. It's a product of about a year's worth of work between Tony and his attorney and Mark and myself.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Number 14, a motion to approve the use of the preventative maintenance agreement for instrumentation, control programming, and SCADA equipment with Electrical Installations, Inc. to furnish and install dissolved oxygen system upgrades at the Scarborough wastewater treatment facilities in the amount of $11,326.10.
I'll move that motion.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Number 15, a motion to approve the annual contract for technical support for the police department's computer software system with TriTech Software Systems in the amount of $14,380.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Number 16, a motion to approve the emergency installation of Lexan panels and steel support framework to the interior of the 3 barred cells at the Public Safety Complex to be completed by Abcor Restoration Company, Inc. in the amount of $18,640.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
And this is based on an analysis by the trust and the liabilities we have at the police station due to the cell configuration. People can asphyxiate themselves if not watched constantly, and that takes a lot of staff, and I don't think that the police want to have somebody in the cell block at all times watching what's going on in the cell itself, if that's a fair summary. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Number 17, a motion to award the bid for engineering services for fuel storage options at DPW facility to the sole bidder, Weston and Sampson, in the amount of $19,500.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 18, a motion to approve the proposal from Beta Group Services during construction for Phase 1B of the Pavement Management Program in the amount of $40,228.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Motion carries 4-0. That concludes the regular agenda.
Can we ask the chief to
sorry.
come up? I just want
Oh,
a
sure.
little bit of a report on URI. I know that there were compliments tonight, but can you just come on up and tell us, in conclusion, before the meeting closes, about a summary about the students and your plan?
Starting the first week, we start extra patrols Tuesday night, the first, technically the move-in day. For that first week, our part-time labor costs $15,000 in overtime. So there is, that one body helps to eliminate more overtime that's spent by our department. But that's what it cost the town of Narragansett for the increased patrols for the first week. There were roughly 70 arrests of just students, anything from disorderly conduct to possession of alcohol, the ordinances that were beefed up by the council, the fines. There were a number of houses that have been cited for social host or nuisance, and I believe as of this past weekend, 2 weekends, full weekends now, there are 8 stickers that have been posted. I think the most considerable difference that I've been told by the residents is the smaller groups. There aren't the 20, 30 person groups walking around Eastwood Look as much. Now it's a lot smaller groups. Literally the first 2 weekends, every time they turned a corner, there was either a marked police car or an unmarked car, including state police that had unmarks in the area, as well as us. So our enforcement effort is, I wish it was done, Stanley, but we are far from done. This is only week 2. You know, we've said all along, the vast majority of the kids are great kids, and it takes a few to cause problems for everyone. I think that if we can continue to improve for the residents the quality of life, the fact that they can sleep, they're not as worried at night, then we're starting to at least turn the tide. I don't think we've come even close to winning a battle yet, but we're turning the tide. So.
And I drove through Eastwood Look a couple times on the weekend nights. Looks like the tow policy is working pretty well in terms of at least cars in the streets.
Yeah, we've towed actually very few vehicles. I think everybody got the message. Highway did a great job at getting everything posted. They've concluded, they've done Village of Point Judith now, and I think the students have taken notice. Some of the vehicles that were started to tow, the kids came out and moved them. We've had additional traffic constables in addition to the officers working just for parking enforcement and towing, which again is 2 more black and whites they see in the neighborhood. It's a little more comfort for the residents, but we have actually towed very few vehicles. I think that message got through.
You think that's eliminating people traveling into Eastern Look and parking in the streets? I mean, is that a reduction?
To some point. We've also noticed that there's been a lot less activity at some of the package stores. Kind of a comic side of it, but if you read the Charahoe, I believe it's the Charahoe Times, the front page of the Charahoe Times, this last edition was House Party in Richmond. And they had one URI house party, and they arrested 3 students, and that was front page for Charahoe, so I thought it was kind of funny. But,
Well, thank you very much.
okay.
Thanks.
Our last item tonight is motion to retire to executive session of the Town Council at the end of the September 15, 2014 Town Council meeting in accordance with Rhode Island General Law 42464 to discuss litigation, John Majika arbitration in accordance with 42465A2, and appoint Mark A. McSally, Town Solicitor, as Clerk Pro Tem. Someone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, Mr. Gopian?
Aye.
Mr. Mannix?
Aye.
Ms. Bonanno?
Aye.
And Mr. Callahan? Aye. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night.